small team can have a much bigger impact as long as they know how to automate part of their job and outsource it to AI. What we really trying to solve is the issue between sales marketing qualified leads and sales qualified leads. How can we solve that? Leveraging some capability like conversational AI. We are also leveraging generative UI. How can we generate a UI, explain things to you very fast? The difference between our agent and many workflow agents like Manus, like ChatGPT, long-running operations, thinking mode, is we have to give you an answer, respond to you in a reasonable time frame, not like 2 minutes. It should probably be 4 or 5 seconds before we respond at most. AI cannot close a B2B sales end to end. If you want to close a complex B2B deal end to end, that's very tough for AI to do.
Expertise AI transforms B2B tech websites into personalized customer experiences that drive revenue. The product engages each visitor, qualifies their intent, enriches their profile in real time, and hands off the conversation to human teams at the perfect moment. This engage, qualify, enrich handoff workflow helps B2B companies shorten sales cycles and convert more traffic into pipeline. Hao Sheng is the founder and CEO of Expertise AI. His work has focused on building advanced virtual agents for Fortune 500 companies and redefining how businesses interact with customers.
Really resonate with me was like the real conversation with founder, builder, and innovator. So it's not just abstract, very high level like tech talk, like what's the big vision, a lot of practical, battle tested theory and lessons into this AI podcast that helps many people who are thinking about leveraging AI to navigate the real world challenges. If an agent doesn't follow instruction, it will be.
All right, everybody, welcome to the AI Space Podcast. AI isn't just the future, it's a force rewriting the rules of business, wealth creation, and society. If you're a founder, innovator, or technologist, this is the AI show for you. The question you have to ask yourself is, will I blaze a path, follow the crowd, or be left in the dust? Wow, this is season 2, the 10th episode, and we're thrilled to have Hao Sheng, founder and CEO, Expertise AI. Expertise AI transforms B2B tech websites into personalized customer experiences that drive revenue. The product engages each visitor, qualifies their intent, enriches their profile in real time, and hands off the conversation to human teams at the perfect moment. This engage, qualify, enrich handoff workflow helps B2B companies shorten sales cycles and convert more traffic into pipeline. Hao Sheng is the founder and CEO of Expertise AI with 8 years of experience in conversational AI at Google Dialogflow and Cresta. His work has focused on building advanced virtual agents for Fortune 500 companies and redefining how businesses interact with customers. Hao combines deep technical expertise with founder knowledge. I'm Sanjay Kalluvilayil, founder and CEO of Stonehouse Advisors, your trusted advisor for AI founders and businesses focused on go-to-market strategy and execution. Hao, first of all, welcome. But on the AI Space Podcast, we jump right in to highlight game-changing insights that help founders drive innovation and scale business initiatives. Once again, first of all, welcome. But what do you see as the key trends in AI, especially in 2026?
Thanks, Sanjay. And it's a pleasure to be on the podcast. In terms of 2026, we saw continue from 2025, we saw lots of AI agentic applications. So 2025, especially, like we see a breakthrough in the instruction following. So before 2025, AI agents were hard to following instructions because like if you have 5 instructions, it will miss one, it will contradict to one of them. But throughout 2025, lots of AI lab focusing on this specific capability. So I think that will continue into 2026, where 2026, the AI will be able to very closely follow any instruction people give, even if it's a very long context. So that is the biggest shift I see from 2024 to 2026. AI agent become possible because the instruction following gets much better. I think two magnitude better than 2024.
And what do you see is maybe in the medium to long term?
Medium to long term, instruction following should be a default, right? Like that's the cornerstone of building any agent. If an agent doesn't follow instruction, it will be like went rogue. It's very hard to control. So from now on to onwards, we will have agent be able to think faster, follow faster, because lots of the AI agents we have seen in day to day, it takes a long time to execute tasks, whether it's because they're doing research, whether they're doing like API integrations, calling MCP, it's all very slow. So I think mid to long term is how do we compress that like 20-minute task, 15 minutes task to 2 minutes, 1 minute, even real time, you can get a result. That will be a long-term trend where AI can do a lot in short amount of time.
Yeah, and I'll have to ask you about that too, because I experienced that recently where it was an agent, but an LLM was taking too long, and by the time I was thinking, I already figured out the figured out the answer. I was just asking, wanted to validate what I was thinking. If you would look back upon 2025. Maybe what is one surprising insight for you as you go into 2026, right? Something that's like really maybe resonate with you, good or bad, right? Positive or negative, that you say, hey, maybe I'm going to focus on this in 2026, based something that happened in 2025.
I think the biggest surprise is probably the aha moment I get. There are two aha moments. One was 2025, one was 2026. So the first aha moment was I was trying to use Sora 2. So I thought videos generation going to be years away, like at least a couple years away. When I saw Sora 2, the output, it's sometimes become harder when you look at the YouTube shorts or somewhere other place. It's hard for you to tell whether it's a AI generated video or a natural human filmed video. So the boundary between them start to blur. That was the one of the biggest moment when I was surprised by the capability of AI. Through conversation, you can build a video that's almost indistinguishable from real life. It abide the physics law to a very good degree. 2026, there's also one aha moment for me. It was typically when I talk to like LLM, no matter it's Grok or ChatGPT or Cloud, they do things sequentially. So if I have a task, I have a list of things I will prompt them, and then they will give the answer one by one. Okay, I researched the first company, here's the result. Second company, here's the result. Third company, here's the result. Then I start to use Manus, which is a Agentic first AI agent platform. At first, I'm like, how different can this be from Manus to maybe ChatGPT? Like they're all doing similar things under the hood. Then I give Manus a list of firms that I'm interested in. So what it does is it spin up like 200 threads in parallel and then doing all these concurrently. So that was the aha moment. I'm like, this is very, very useful because I can have a big list, arbitrarily big. It just consumes credit to do them in parallel, and I don't have to spend time going through one by one. So that was another aha moment for me. Like, so combine the asynchronous with AI agents to do a lot for in a short amount of time.
I think those are important insights to the quality of the AI video. Like you said, Sora 2, I'm seeing from Google, their new tool, their outputs of the tools are getting way better. Gemini 3, the Google VO, much better quality. And then in terms of, I'm sometimes frustrated with these LLMs. Is like, I can think maybe, I was thinking, no big deal. I can think, multitasking. I can probably think of 5, 6 things in parallel, right? But when you said 200, okay, yeah, that's where it makes sense when you use an AI, right? One of the things, we try to avoid also the AI hype, right? We try to focus on what's practical. So what do you see as the top AI strategies to grow and scale a business?
So recently, I'll use an example that our BDR come to me. In his flow, he does
And BDR is business development rep?
Yeah, business development rep. So he came to me with like, okay, I need a budget to hire someone from Philippines because we are doing a list of sites that who have our competitor on. And then he's like, we have a list of like 1,000 sites. I need someone to verify one by one which one has it actually on right now, which one does not have it. So the list may be 70% accurate. So he come to me on like, you don't need to hire someone in Philippines or VA to do that. Just use something like I just use it, Manus. You can automate that. I said like it's a $17 subscription. Just go try it. So after 2 days, I overheard the conversation. He talked to someone else about how he automates like these list research. So I think people are much more capable nowadays in combination with AI because lots of the tedious things can actually be automated. A small team can have a much bigger impact as long as they know how to automate part of their job and outsource it to AI to do it. What's the boundary of AI cannot do? That's a real question. Like what task can you not outsource to AI? So that's something we see as bottleneck. So in terms of scaling the business, I think it's not really first to go hire people and see which part can we hire more people to add to the marketing, to the sales. It's really to see what is the boundary of AI that happens that AI cannot do. In our industry as expertise, AI, so what we think AI cannot do, because we are targeting B2B businesses, AI cannot close a B2B sales end to end. If you want to close a complex B2B deal end to end, that's very, very tough for AI to do. It has to remember very long context, have to be there at the right channel at the right time, be able to speak like how we chatted on podcast. So understanding that limit, then we step back one step, look at what AI can do very, very well, like that don't need a human. So we realize AI can do engaging. It can talk, it can engage with the online visitors. It can do qualification. If you have a flow of how you qualify your other side customer, the business, it can do a really good job on that. It can book a meeting. It can answer your questions. It can do all these. That actually takes up 30% of sales team's time to do it. So AI can do these pretty well. What AI cannot do is build a meaningful relationship. AI cannot, based on the context, follow up with you 10, 15 times and then each time come up with a different reason to follow up. AI cannot like negotiate with you really well and while understanding the business constraints. So these are still the boundary of AI. So in terms of 2026, scaling a business is really have the team understand where is the boundary of AI, how much can I automate, where is the bottleneck. That's the thing I should put more time in and I try not to automate. So that would help you to scale the team 3-5 times more efficient.
No, I think those are important insights, and I think the tools are now making much easier to automate, where it can do things better than a VA or a human, especially the lower level tasks. But there's some things, even when you want to outsource to Philippines or a VA or whatever, you have expertise, right? I have domain expertise 30 plus years. That's not something that a junior level person or somebody in a entry level or a different situation may have. So then you can use the AI to augment what you're doing, right, in terms of growing and scaling. And what you said about those website links, I recently did that with an LLM, and it pulled up all the website links for these. I was trying to see who were the top AI podcast channels, and actually some of the channels were wrong. And so I had to go, but you have to still have some human in the loop to verify some of those things. But if Manus can work, and the other thing too, I believe Manus was just acquired recently by Meta, right? So Zuckerberg's making his moves on that. I don't remember the exact price tag, 150 million or something.
It has a rumor like 2 billion, something like that.
Okay, yeah. I heard that. I was like, that sounds way too low. 150 million, it's 250. I mean, yeah, the billions sounds more realistic, right? And we'll get into some of those things too. I think those are great insights. So, let's take a step back. We can relax. First of all, or second, welcome again to the show. Could you tell us a little bit more about your background? What led you into this foray into AI and your path to AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I was fortunate, like getting into University of Toronto in 2013. That was the first year AlexNet got introduced at University of Toronto and the Win the ImageNet competition. That was like the Hinton. I started hearing these, and the concept of AI just resonated with me so much. So one day in the dorm room, I have a roommate. I talked to him. Was like, man, I want to do something with AI. At the time, AI is still a very early, nuanced concept. Like there are many other things in the world. So I continue to give my reason. Like I think one day AI will be as smart or even much smarter than human being. I don't know when, but hopefully in my lifetime. So we chatted a bit on AI, why AI is so great, so become such a big thing. 2013 until 2017, I started my first company with the roommate. I was like, let's do an AI company. Let's see how we can apply AI to real life, like we find a business case, let's solve that. So we initially landed in like a image recognition, like how do we recognize license plate. Then we realized, okay, license plates, these have some privacy issues. Let's see what are other applications. That's when I started landing in conversational AI. So conversational AI, I realized it has a huge potential, not just to answer question Q&A back and forth. It can also do a lot more than that. Can execute, can help gathering information, can help to automate business processes. So that's the moment I get into the conversational AI. And for the next almost 10 years from that time, I never left conversational AI, like agentic AI. So afterwards, we started the first company. We were selling to insurance company these AI, conversational AI applications. The time was a bit early. It was rule-based AI. So the question always come up is like, how is this much different than a form? Because you are asking exact same question, give multiple choices. So slowly we realize, okay, this may be too early. So let me see like what's going on. How can we, in a more industry scale, to automate some of the contact center? That's when I joined Google on the Dialogflow team. So we were building the contact center AI agent. The goal at the time is contact center was one of our Fortune 50 partners. They have thousands of people hired in the contact center. And even that during the peak season, you have to wait for an hour or two to just get connected. How can we how can we make it easier for people to operate the contact center, lower their cost, as well as get faster service for the customer? So the goal we set was 50% of the call should be handled automatically by AI. So we start going in, recognize what are the use cases, what are the low-hanging fruit. It's a very consulting heavy kind of initially to build a conversational AI for them. So that was my second experience of conversational AI. At the end, we were able to automate more than 50% of that contact center. So it's a very successful project, and the deal is pretty massive. So I move on back into the startup world because I want to see like in the startup world, what are the where are the opportunities? How can we leverage these to help like smaller company than like these Fortune 50 giant contact center? So I landed in Cresta. I was the first member in Toronto site, built the site from 1 person to 10 people. And we were helping agent to do agent coaching. Like how can we help agent to be 10 times more effective on the phone? So that is a big gap between the low performing agent and high performing agent. So we are trying to bridge that gap using AI coaching. I always have a strong tendency to like, how do we automate this? Like, is it possible to automate that end to end so agent can do something very, very meaningful during the phone call using like without a human being? So that's the direction we try to do. And turns out to be we were just a little bit early. We were like when I joined, it was 2020, end of 2021, I believe. 2022, 2023, we come to the consensus where these contact center job will not exist in the next 10 years. Like the full automation is probably the right way to go for large contact center. So that leads me to think about what are the repeatable process in these human to business interaction. That lead me to think a lot about business interface. When AI represents 90% of the business, how does that human to business interface going to look like in the future? Are we still going to call you? Are we still going to like have lots of like go to the website, gathering information around and reading blogs, doing these are the default interface right now. So how can we bring this to a agentic time? How can we build an agent that represents the business and doing business on business behalf? So that is something like I started thinking a lot, and why we build Expertise AI. We want to reinvent human and business interact and engage.
What made you realize you need to build Expertise AI, and what moment convinced you the world was ready for it?
That was a story when in the beginning of 2023, I believe, ChatGPT got launched. I was sitting down with my brother having a lunch together. He runs a small pet food kind of business. like online e-commerce. So we started talking he was like, look, like I find something amazing. You should definitely try to use all these conversational AI tools. I'm using Copy AI. I'm using Jasper AI. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting because I just started to know these marketing copywriting AI, like Jasper Copy AI, and I'm in the industry, right? Like as some small business owner himself, he's getting very excited about these like applications for him, like be able to write something for him instead of he write down the marketing campaign. So he gets very excited. So that's the aha moment. I'm like, there's so many people can benefit from these AI technology, and I happen to have lots of know-how how to bring these to production, bring this to product. And that's the moment I decided, okay, I should quit my job and do something along the way of repeatable and along the way of revenue generating AI for like mid-size SMB type of company.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your role, your mandate, how let's start with that, your role and your mandate for the company.
Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO of the company. Initially, initially it was just me, and I grew the team now to a team of 11 people. We are based in Toronto. So my mandate on daily basis is there are two things actually more. Uh, I I do primarily. One is on the product side. What is the product roadmap? How does the product look like? Because I'm very passionate about product. I spent lots of time during the first 6 years of me working at the company, starting my first business, think about what's the format of future AI engagement. How does that look like? Is conversation the only way, or we can build more like a dynamic UI to generative UI to automate these? Is the way we build and the playbook, the guidelines, the right way to build for the future? So I'm a very product person. That was a huge chunk of my time is thinking about the product. Does it look good? Does it feels good? Does our user know how to use it? Also provide technical insights because I'm an engineer. Second part, I think I will categorize these to selling, right? It could be selling to customers. How do you sell your product? What is the benefit? What is the ROI? How can we help you to bring more business into sales qualified pipeline? That's the second part. Like it's mostly about selling. Also selling to right investor, right? Like what's the vision? What's why we at Expertise AI we will generate 100x return on your investment as selling the vision, selling how we execute, selling the team, and then eventually like shares to investors. Third, and then the other part of selling is to align with the team, to sell the vision, to sell the traction, to sell the really the have team buy in on like what are we going to do and how are we going to help our customer to make sure they are successful. So that's how I categorize like my main job and responsibilities.
Yeah, and you're a founder, right? And you're bootstrapping, I'm sure, early stages, getting on. So, how did
We
you
were
go about building? Huh?
we were venture backed.
Oh, from the very beginning. Okay, good.
Not from the very beginning. We have a maybe 2 3 months. I boot we
Yeah, so that I get what I'm saying. I get the first 2 3 months, you were bootstrapped, probably, right? And then those are because you was leading the two questions. First is how did you approach building your founding team? How did you find locate your founding team? Basically, how did you build that team?
That's a very interesting question because initially I was trying to find a co-founder at the time. I tried a few co-founder dating, like including people I know, like people I met online. It turns out like some of the times, like I feel like they are not the best fit from time to time. Ended up getting some traction even before I start finding a co-founder. Hired the first employee, first two employee at the time. So I was very fortunate. First employee I hired, and still with me 2 years into the job, 2.5 year into the job. Essentially, we at the time we have two candidates. One is very good, very qualified, who have seen like $0 to $1 million ARR join a company, and that's what's really appealing to me. We hire him, and then we hire someone who just immigrant from India to Canada. He messaged me 5 times Or like, oh, here's my idea on the product. Here is something I really want to us to like. If I join you, I really want to help you with. Here's of my idea. Some of the idea are not right. Like I know they're not right, but the persistency. Like he has a background in marketing, but it's not in North America. Like I was like, okay, let me give you a chance. Like join our team. Like let's see. So you know what ended up like the person who was abundant of experience. Turns out he is more like a mercenary than missionary. He is kind of 95, like he can do the job, but to a quality that's okay. So we end up not keeping him while we keep the guy who really proactive, have much more agencies. And 2 years into the job, he is the one of the best customer success and the operation people we hired. So I get very lucky there to hire the initial person. And from there, we were like, I have people who work with me previously, know each other for 10 years, joining the team, and we work together as we raise as we start raising some money, we get to build out a team. Now we have a team of 11. So that is the initial story of initial people. I think it's very crucial to find the first few people who are whose skill is very complementary, and also first few people when you find them, there are certain character. I think they absolutely should not be these type of mercenary. They can do a good job, but they have to. What you want to find is someone who really align with the mission, who is also really proactive, just reactive person.
Yeah, I think being an entrepreneur is different than being a corporate lifestyle. You trade the people say I want to trade the 9 to 5, but you're going to a 24/7, right? So I say either you got the things you look for people with purpose and passion, or what I also say is that when I'm looking for people is like attitude and aptitude, right? And those make a big difference than sometimes the certain levels of experience, right? And we'll dive deeper into that. Where are you in terms of you bootstrapped? You look like in 2 3 months you got to funding. So tell us a little bit about the funding process. I'm sure there's founders out there, or people that are maybe in the bootstrapping stage. Like, how'd you approach funding, and tell us how that process went.
Yeah, the year was a bit brutal. I started 2023 and all the way to 2024. We got into an accelerator essentially. Initially got a bit of funding, and through that, we know many investors. Then we get the pre-seed round, like $1.5 million pre-seed round, done from there.
Okay, very good. And so, then what do you have a next stage that you're trying to get to? Are you marching toward anything?
Yeah, we are actually. It's funny. Like we just, I think by the time episode out, we are raising our next round. It will be to fuel our expansion in multiple region, like in SF.
Very good. Yeah, so I think that'll be good timing. I think probably by the time it'll be a couple weeks. All right, very cool. So let's take a pause here. Before we continue, I want everyone to follow Hao. So definitely like, comment, subscribe to the AI Space podcast. That helps us grow the show and have more innovative guests like Hao. Where's the best place for people to follow you, connect with you, learn more about Expertise AI?
One thing is LinkedIn is a good place. The other place you can check out is expertise.ai.
So let's get a little bit more deeper. We'll talk about in terms of Expertise AI. Tell us a little bit more in terms of what the pain point you're solving and your target segment and use cases.
Yeah, in terms of Expertise AI, we recognize the friction between sales and marketing team. Oftentimes, marketing team in large B2B company have a interesting relationship with sales team because marketing team are focusing on MQL, marketing qualified leads, right? Like these are people who engage with your marketing material, who sign up on the form, who have previous went to your event. These are all marketing qualified leads. However, sales qualified leads is much higher requirement. They need to fit sometime certain criteria, the company size, the funding, the revenue size. There are lots of criteria for sales qualified leads. So lots of time sales people are not happy with the quality of that provided by marketing team. So we are solving that by bridging the gap between sales and marketing. How can we provide a personalized experience on the website immediately when a visitor visits the website? How can we capture more of their intent while they're on the website, while visitor can get information very, very fast and very, very effective? So our AI agent, like a salesperson on the website, engage visitor 24/7, and based on where they come from, what article they're looking at, it engages and qualify them along the way as they start talking to AI or start clicking around to find out whether they are qualified leads for the sales team. If we deem they're qualified, we'll pop up a calendar where the visitor can just book the time on sales calendar, and the sales will be ready to talk to them. So that really bridged the gap from traditionally you find out the business, you go to the website, fill out the form, then the form gets to the marketing team, the sales team afterwards. The sales team determine whether they want to speak to you, they get you an email back, book a time there, and then you can talk. So right, we were really trying to cut down the process by doing that in real time while the prospect are most interested, while they are browsing on your website. So that's a big part of what we do, and expand from there, because we're monitoring who come into your website and what they are doing. So through these data, we integrate it with CRM system, so we can have prospecting agent that sends out email to nudge the people to book a meeting, to learn more about your product, right? Like, so these are some of the things we help marketing team to generate up to 50% more leads just with the same amount of traffic.
Yeah, no, when I was in the corporate environment, right, I did consulting, business development, sales, right? Didn't have to do the lead gen or any of the marketing, right? But then when I became an entrepreneur, launched my consulting business and even this podcast, right? You have domain expertise, but at the end of the day, it's like, where's the sales? And then you realize, well, even to get to the sales, people don't know about your business, right? There's an awareness issue. And you have to do prospecting, you have to do lead generation. And if I can simplify what you're saying too, is like, how do you turn people who are not even aware, if you're thinking about a retail store, they don't even know your store exists. Now they're a window shopper. And how do you convert window shoppers to actually go buy, your item, right? And and you said there's a qualification process, because there's some criteria, right? It depends on their budget. Are they ready to buy? Are you solving the need that they have, right? So there's a lot of different criteria that needs to be figured out based on who you're targeting, right?
Exactly. The B2B process is much longer than B2C, and it requires lots of signals, requires lots of treating everyone individually differently, because no two company are exactly the same.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too. B2C versus B2B, because it doesn't matter. People can be different, but if you're selling an Apple iPhone, it's much different than a SaaS software, right? Or any sort of solution.
A small team can have a much, much bigger impact as long as they know how to automate part of their job and outsource it to AI. What we really trying to solve is the issue between sales marketing qualified leads and sales qualified leads. How can we solve that? Leveraging some capability like conversational AI. We are also leveraging a generative UI. How can we generate a UI to explain things to you very, very fast? AI cannot close a B2B sales end to end. If you want to close a complex B2B deal end to end, that's very, very tough for AI to do.
Expertise AI transforms B2B tech websites into personalized customer experiences that drive revenue. The product engages each visitor, qualifies their intent, enriches their profile in real time, and hands off the conversation to human teams at the perfect moment. This engage, qualify, enrich handoff workflow helps B2B companies shorten sales cycles and convert more traffic into pipeline. So let's shift gears a little bit. As you're trying to solve this problem for customers, right? Let's talk about AI, ML architecture, and tech stack. So methodologies, frameworks, architecture, platforms, tools. How are you approaching this, building this out for your customers, right? And maybe let's start with this. You've mentioned conversational AI a couple of times, right? And for those that are not aware of conversational AI, maybe explain what that is, and then what is the underlying technology structure for that.
So when I think of conversational AI, it's really about the interface. How do you engage with AI? Most people are most comfortable with talking, with typing, just like talking to a friend, typing text message to a friend. So how can we enable these, like either text, talking, or video chatting with not a human being? Like typically we talk to a human being, but with an AI agent that can truly understand you and respond to you in an appropriate way. So that to me is the conversation definition of conversational AI. So have text chat or video chat with the other party who are intelligent.
Very good. And so, as you're evolving your conversational AI platform, are there any underlying frameworks or technologies or codecs or what have you that you're kind of using?
So our platform is more than a conversational AI. We are using conversational AI as just part of it. What we really trying to solve is the issue between sales marketing qualified leads and sales qualified leads. How can we solve that leveraging some capability like conversational AI? We are also leveraging generative UI. How can we generate a UI, explain things to you very, very fast? So in the UI, it can be pictures, it can be CTAs, it can be like marketing copy that we quote from somewhere, or we generate a marketing copy just for you. So we are looking at the problem we are solving is more than a conversational AI. It's an interface or building business representing AI and build that interface that most effective and to help generating the pipeline. So the interface part of it is conversational AI like multimodality, text, voice, even in the future video chat. Part of it is insights, how you look at it, like how much this visitor interest can we engage from their online website experience. Are they looking at healthcare article, or are they looking at, let's say, finance article or healthcare article? So we can gauge who they are, what their interest is. So that's the insight part. Like we drive insights from your website traffic. This last part is like engagement. So how can we engage it appropriately so they are most likely to start engagement with the business? Because the initial engagement is always really hard to start.
Right. So when you're talking about Gen AI, are you using like a specific LLM in your model, or do you have your own, or how are you approaching that? Like, especially somebody visits a website, right? They put some information. You're trying to get more information on them to move them through the funnel, right? So how do you approach that?
There are more traditional way to get data from information from the online activity. For example, we can look at maybe what page are you most interested in, the time you spend on it, the content on that page. And there are ways for AI to come in. For example, when we have chats, what question did you ask AI? What type of things are you interested in? Are you interested in particular vertical, or just or pricing, or this or that? So it's a combination of what we have already built for many years, like the insights, website insights, the tracking, and combine that.
All the analytics, the data analytics coming from the website.
Yeah,
Right?
the data analytics, where we come from. Combine that with an intelligence layer, for example, like the ChatGPT, like the Grok, or
So are you using your own, or are you wrapping around like a Claude or a ChatGPT or some sort of other LLM to enrich that data, right?
so that's a very interesting question. So in short, like each one of the LLM call, on the back we call 5 different types. Some are query rewrite. We use a smaller model to rewrite that very, very quick. Some are re-ranking. Like how do we re-rank?
When you say a smaller model, like a small SLM, small
Yeah,
language model,
quicker model, because we
which
want.
is a little bit more focused and versus a big large language model, right?
Yeah, large language model typically have a like first token time like 2 seconds. Like if 5 are all like large language model, very big large language model, then the latency going to be huge. The beauty of what we are building, what we call ourselves, is also a real time agent platform. The focus is on real time. We cannot let you wait like 3 minutes and then, oh, by the way, we did our research. Like they already hang up or they already go somewhere else.
And in most places, not in your case, but in other places, they probably waited 30 minutes for that to get connected, right? And then, and
Yeah,
then it's like,
or
or
days.
however long they waited to get connected, right? So
Yeah, if you want to talk to a sales, like it takes days to wait to get a first token back from the sales. We are building is more complex than like just one wrap around one single LLM model then give you response. We did a lot behind the scene, and to make sure it follows your playbook, to make sure we understand you correctly, find the right contacts, and then we have like searching algorithms, how to find the most relevant contacts in the huge amount of vector storage we build, right? Like, so these are some of the things that's behind the scene, and then in front of the scene with AI, you chat with AI, we get you something in 2-3 seconds back, and then you start consuming these content.
I think that's an important insight there. I mean, that's pretty cool because you actually maybe for a certain type of information, right? It's looking like you're looking, okay, what's the best model in terms of cost, efficiency, latency, quality to give me to enrich that data in a meaningful way, right? And to have, to be able to respond in kind. So when that information comes back, right, how is the agent or rep, is it just pops up on the screen saying, hey, John, based on past or based on this information, we recommend this for you. So how does that work?
Yeah, certainly. So when we start recommending product or when we start to engage, we always first try to understand like what is the previous context, what are the things you previous look at, we know the profile of these are the things you probably know, and these are the things that's probably will be interesting. And that context passing the final layer of the LLM or like LLM, so LLM get up to date about like what is the previous context. That alongside we have some search algorithm find the relevant information to answer his question or to recommend. So with all these contexts, we give at the end a very capable LLM, probably the largest we use. And with that LLM, it can do reasoning through, okay, this is John, this is how much he know, this is the conversation history, this is the material that could help me to answer the questions. So here, let me have a more comprehensive answer. So that's towards the last step of LLM before we respond to John.
And are there any important metrics that you're be able to improve with this, like whether it's close rate or no shows? What are the metrics that what you're looking at?
Yeah, one thing is definitely the start of the engagement to meeting booking. So how many people start engagement and then how many people get to the booking phase, book a meeting. We also use LLM to evaluate all the conversations. So we look at, is his question resolved or not resolved? Did we end up creating a ticket or not creating a ticket? Did we do all these so it's successful? So we have that metrics as well. We use LLM to evaluate these conversations. So combine these metrics, we look at like how many meetings get booked, what's the success rate for these, like what is the knowledge gap? Because lots of time where AI just don't know the answer. So do we find any knowledge gap we can feed back to the person who is building or who come back with the person who is responsible to configure the online web agent. So we do these feedback loop, and through over time, we will see the conversation to or interaction to booking rate goes up. The successful rate goes up with most customers, and we find the knowledge gap start getting less and less knowledge gaps because we fill all the knowledge gap as we start implementing.
Yeah, I think when I think about when I'm running a business too, when I think about sales close rates, if your close rate is like 50 or 75%, it's like, okay, that's great, but it's kind of like a water hose with 5 knots in it. If all the way up here you got 5% and 10% here and 3% here, it doesn't matter if you have 50% down here. It's like probably what you're doing is you're analyzing, okay, this is at 5%, this is at 10%, this is at 3%. What are we doing wrong? What do we need to improve to get these up to, say, all these up to 20% or a much higher rate? That way you have a much better yield at the end, right? You have to look at that whole funnel, right?
Yeah, it's a leaking funnel. If you here leaks a bit, that there leaks a bit, like how many people can get to the end? Probably very few. But if you get all these and have AI look at all these and make sure the leakage is fixed, then you can have a much bigger funnel at the end.
So are you also leveraging any other things in terms of like image or content generation, agentic workflows, automations, etc.? So where are you with some of those?
Yes. So we have built, I want to emphasize on two things. One is image generation. We don't currently generate image because lots of the image has to get approved by the marketing team if it's okay or not. Instead, the copy we generate, the image we use more like a traditional fetching the most relevant image. So that we do these. Generate image, I think soon, maybe this year or maybe next few years, we will get to a place where marketing team will be happy with any image people like AI generated as long as it fits the guideline. That shouldn't be hard because we already have the API. We just have to do it. It's more of how comfortable are the marketing teams. In terms of agentic workflow, what we created And what we're focusing on has been the marketing team. Marketing team people are not the most technical person in our organization. Most technical are engineers. So what we are focusing on is how do we use natural language to configure an AI agent instead of you have to learn Python, to learn I don't know Ruby's Unreal or something like that to configure that, or learn how to like how to form a JSON to make sure that it's compliant. So how can we use very natural language to configure a behavior of an AI agent that marketing and sales team can do themselves? That's the problem we are working on, and we give a solution using natural language to configure AI agent. So you can pretty much talk to the agent, and we will figure out how your agent should behave. And then if you want to change the behavior, you can talk to the agent or change type it in like what's your expectation. Then we build the agent to your liking. So that is what we are working on. Then the difference between our agent and many workflow agents like Manus, like ChatGPT, long running operations, thinking mode is we have to give you an answer, respond to you in a reasonable time frame, not like 2 minutes. Should probably be 4 or 5 seconds before we respond at most.
Oh, okay, that's great. Let's shift gears a little bit. So, what about the AI Space podcast resonated with you? They say, hey, I want to be a guest on the show.
Really resonate with me was like the real conversation with founder, builder, and innovator. So it's not just abstract, very high level like tech talk, like what's the big vision, a lot of practical, battle tested theory and lessons into this AI podcast that helps many people who are thinking about leveraging AI to navigate the real world challenges. So each episode feels like very genuine exchange between Sanjay and the guest on the podcast, and lots of time it goes into strategy, go to market thinking, honest story from people who are actually in the trench of building AI companies. So I think there's lots of actionable insights and lots of great story to be told on the podcast. That's what excites me and joining this podcast.
No, I really appreciate that. You took, wow, that's amazing. And so, I started this podcast a year ago. I just launched my AI consulting business. Someone said, hey, you should launch a podcast. I said, what can I launch about? Hey, why don't I give back? I'm sure other people try to figure out this AI space, and let's invite the founders, the builders. They're actually doing real stuff to share real insights, practical insights. I don't want this high level theory. I don't want nana banana, this new tool hype. That's great. But how do you actually grow and scale a business? Well, I want people like you on here, so I really appreciate that. We also have to thank Victor Fang, who connected us, and Chain.ai. So, he was on that episode, and his episode was really cool too. So, how do you know Victor?
Yeah, Victor. The first day I remember I was living in a place called AGI House for half a year. First day I was walking out of my room. We were in front of Coil Pond. I saw someone else, like another Chinese. Like we started chatting. I'm like, oh, who are you? Like I'm also a resident here. Like, but I don't. He spent some time between like SF and Texas, right? Like so we start chatting on like what are you building? I just find Victor is a great person who has great personality. He's very extroverted. He's very open to sharing his knowledge and helping other founders. So we built a great relationship there. That's how I initially met. It was like I remember it's a night, so there were moon, and then we were in front of a coil pond.
Oh yeah, no, he's a great guy, and I'm glad he connected us, and looking forward to that. So yeah, we talked about the technology, right? I think one of the most critical things are like around vision, mindset, strategy. So what do you see are the critical insights for long-term success around vision, mindset, strategy, right?
I think vision and mission is what drives people to start a company. They must have seen something not working in the industry, in their day-to-day job, or something that they want to change in the world. That becomes the vision, and the mission is to change that, bend the world in a way to what they think the world should be. So at least that's true for me, because I've been spending lots of time thinking about how to build a real-time AI agent that representing the business. So lots of the what industry traditionally doing, like rule-based, decision tree-based, I don't really like these solutions because these solution feels very outdated. this solution feels very rigid, where I think there's an AI that's super smart, can figure it out, but you kind of put a handcuff to it. Like you can only do this, right? Like, so for me, it's like this satisfaction about how AI agent is built, real-time AI agent is built, and spend lots of time thinking what's the right way to build that and how can that benefit businesses in like B2B or businesses in general. So that's motivate me to have a vision to change that and the mission to like become the best of doing it. Strategy wise, I think strategy is not always the same. Like the as we are early stage company, our strategy change on a weekly, monthly basis. Like how we do it. Like there are industry news. Like some company get acquired, some company get funding, some company wanna change their roadmap to this or that. So the strategy we have is really flexible and really dynamic based on the market conditions and our customers' need or our customers' roadmap change. But I think the framework is more important, like how we come up with these strategy. What are the right things to do? What are the things we should not do? Is actually the framework of it is more important than like the at the moment the strategy. So we have in our company we have ways to come up with are the right thing to do, what are the things like we don't want to do, like or we tried doing it and it turns out to be the wrong things to do. So we have a like a do not do list. We have a things that we want to double down on as one. Like we want to really focus on a specific ICP solving their specific needs instead of going early on very broad customers and then help them a little bit versus help a very niche customer a lot. So these are some of the things like the framework we come up with internally to figure out what are the things we do, and then we figure out how we do it, what are the things to do. They become our strategy. Strategy is more like how to do it and what are the small things that we can have a quick win or have a win in.
I think that's great. I think what I like what you said is that sometimes, a lot of people see problems in the world and think there's better ways to do things. And you can go out and post on social media, oh, this is no good and it should be done this way. But people like you actually say, okay, that is the case. Things can be done better. Let me go figure out a way how to do it. Like, let me go build something, right? And the strategy is like, we're not like, it's not like a large army or you're not an established company. You have to use some of the principles of Sun Tzu, right? In terms of strategy and tactics, you have to understand your terrain. You have to understand your situation, right? It's not fixed or monolithic, right? And you have to be able to adapt. I think those are critical insights. Then as you get, you're executing your strategy and, you're obviously in a sales and marketing perspective, but what insights can you share on how did you get your first clients and, start expanding your clientele, right?
I always say like I come from an engineering background. There was a realization in the beginning of the journey. I realized, oh, I built a product and I push it to product hunt. Then what? In my mind, like then people should flock in and then we're like, hey, let me use it. Let me use it. Here's my money. I like had initially I had a very naive take on that. Then for a month, like we have no traffic. I didn't realize I have to actively find the traffic, bring them in, convert them to do all these. And then I realized there's a term called marketing, exactly solve that. So
Yes, the marketing solve the product market fit, right? You have a product and you have to get it to market. That's why you have marketing, right?
yeah. So for me, it's like very, very quickly to learn SEO. What is SEO? How do we do it? How do we build a marketing motion? Social media posting. I never before on LinkedIn and get into a habit of posting almost every week. How do we bring it? How do we do the influencer marketing or go on podcast, for example? And how do we do all these like slowly come together? Like by slowly, I mean like in half a year, I was like, okay, this is fun actually. Let me do more and more marketing about it. So it's not very natural to me because I didn't come from a go-to-market background. But what's interesting is once we have product, once we have a few customers through like because our price was pretty low, and then we acquiring first customer, things become more real. Things become like we have customer demand. we have marketing that we have our name. Customer is referring us to other customers. They are registering. They are converting to pay. Our PLG motion was working very well for us. So then we realized, okay, are these the customer we want to focus? Do we want to focus on everything, everyone, B2B, B2C, e-commerce, hospitality, software? Like what is the vertical we can help the most? Slowly we realized, okay, we should focusing on more the vertical is the most promising one. Slowly we figure out, okay, these are some of the best go-to-market strategy, and we hire people to execute on the strategy. Like, I think the first customer moment was big. I was so happy, but it's not the defining moment. Defining moment was I figured out there's a way to bring people in without like bring people in repeatedly to our website to see us. Then we have a more repeatable motion, and then because we are a SaaS, we have a repeatable revenue. So that's the bigger moment for us than the first customer. First customer, it's second day on product hunt launch. There's a customer hop on a call. During the call, he pull up the credit card. I say, let's do it. I'm like dreaming. I'm like, that quick? So the first customer come really, really quick after we launch the product. But the realization of marketing and I have no one else is doing it, like I have to do it, was the moment I realized, okay, there's something a lot more I could have learned, could do, and then take some time for me to master it. But we are doing quite good on the marketing.
Yeah, I think some people start with some niche target segments, start very narrow, and go broad. Then they go broad. In your case, it looks like you had quite a few different verticals and segments come in. Then you had to start quickly realizing which are the most valuable ones, which ones are the least time consuming, which one are the least headaches, which ones are the best to work with, which one can I add more value, right? And then you had to probably be much more laser focused and razor focused in a sense, right? And speaking of being razor focused, right? You have to cut and trim and be more efficient. So what insights do you have as you go to the next stage of how do you streamline operations and scale that business to get to that next level of funding and also to maintain growth, right?
As we niching in, we find like each niche is bigger than we thought. Like it's much bigger than if you have a meaningful presence in that niche, you will become a very, very big company already. So what we realize is there are like thousands
And
of
that's an important insight right there. People want to go for the world, and you think, oh, I'm just going for this little niche, this little corner, right? That's what niche means, like a corner. But in that corner, it's like a whole new world, right?
it's a whole new world. We were too generic. Then, like over the last year, we become much more focused on specific type, and then we find like there are hundreds thousands of these companies as well. Even in this world, how do we find a customer who fits us the most? And we start to have inbound, more and more inbound from those type, as well as we have more targeted outbound into these companies. So we are building our outbound motion into these companies and make sure we are the best fit before we reaching out, and then present them with our solution to close them as our customer.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing because instead of doing say and spray, right? As I believe you can, if you understand the pain point you're solving, you can understand your segments, you build your offer, you build your results mechanism, right? You build your messaging, and it resonates with them. They understand it, and they're willing to pay on a repeated basis. That's when it gets fun, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a game of focusing, and by focusing, you provide much more value. Any other generic software can provide.
You can be more authentic, you can provide more meaning and a more valuable experience, right? And that's what people, that's at the end of the day, it's about the experience. They're not buying your solution, they're buying the results and that experience. How does that make them feel, right? So in terms of democratization, we know AI is a great democratization tool, but what do you think are the challenges and opportunities about making AI accessible to founders and businesses from a variety of industries, experiences, backgrounds? How can we bridge this gap?
Yeah, just like I said in the beginning, we give our SDR Manus, he is able to do much more of his job very quickly. So I think one big part is also coming back to this podcast is like the more awareness people have on these use cases and boundaries, the better the people would be able to use these tools more effectively So I think podcast, newsletters, all these are great way to democratize the rippling effect of having such powerful AI. And I really appreciate some people like Sanjay to host this type of podcast and to educate, to spread the influence of how much AI can help us.
No, I truly appreciate you coming on here. And, I've had people from different backgrounds, different countries, right? And so you mentioned you're originally from China and you live in Toronto now. So that's amazing. Maybe give us a little 30-second about that journey, how you made that journey, right?
Yeah, really, it's from I was 17, 18 when I come to Canada. It's been many, many years. And the one thing like gives me more is the freedom to start a business. Like I started my first business when I was 18, 17, 18. Because in China, you just don't get a chance. Like it's school is very strict, and I always in the best school. It's very competitive. It's very strict, like what you can do. So once I come here, I get much more freedom, like to do things I want, like start some small business, like even in high school, and then really enjoyed it throughout university. I started my first startup. Yeah, so that's really my background, and then why I think it's a great place in North America. The environment is very encouraging and a lot more freedom.
Yeah, I think a lot of the generations that live here aren't aware, how thankful they should be of the freedoms that we have, and the grass is not greener, other places in a sense, right? So that takes us, one thing that we've done on the show always from the very first is talk about ethical and responsible AI. So how do we balance AI innovation with responsible development?
I think ethic is a big, big topic. Like sometimes it's a ethical AI requires really lots of research into how do we make sure from the foundation level, LLM level, we are building ethical, responsible AI. So other people cannot abuse it, or we have a reporting mechanism. So we make sure like these bad actors cannot from you leverage the AI the way they want to be. It has to be more on the foundational layer. It has to be battle tested. Make sure they are very, very have a like Elon Musk said. It should be truthful, truth seeking. It should be like not doing be able to recognize the things that's wrong. It's hard to enforce on everyone. You have to not be a bad actor. It's a much harder reality that we are facing. But I think the foundational level has to be very solid.
And that's very important what you said, because people are racing. But what are we racing toward, right? Is, you can race to build a house, but if you don't put the foundation and the strong walls, and in case of business, the governance models, the risk policies, right? On this podcast, we talked about utopian, dystopian scenarios. I've had different folks on here. I said one of the reasons to do this was about helping others grow and scale, but I found out one of the unknown reasons to have this podcast is to make others aware. Yeah, AI is a good thing. There's benefits to it, but there's some risks, and we got to build it responsibly, right? And I'm sure, because you have access to customer data, information, it can be, manipulated. There could be data poisoning, prompt injection, all these things. So those are things that, as you're building your business, and, also security layers, right? Those are things you have to kind of think about, right? Okay, very cool. So any concluding thoughts, insights, encouragement to those getting the space or struggling to build their business?
I can only use me myself as a example. Like I said, like I didn't know the concept of marketing. I think anyone should be open to learn other concept like or how others doing it and apply it to the best, because indeed there are only limited contacts anyone can have, especially going to somewhere new, something new. Following this podcast is a great way to learn.
No, I appreciate that. Thanks for that. And well, definitely how I could. This has been fun. I appreciate your journey, what you're building. I could talk to you quite a bit, about the future of the AI space. We're coming up on time. Where's the best place for folks to learn more about you or connect with you?
Yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. You can also search expertise.ai, or just go to expertise.ai, and I'll be there. And you can chat with our AI, and then you can connect with me. there as well.
So fantastic. Everyone make sure to check out and connect with Hao. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and find us on your favorite podcast platforms like Spotify or Apple. Hao, I've learned quite a bit from this episode. It was a lot of fun. I can't thank you enough for sharing your insights and your journey with us today. I'm Sanjay Kalluvilayil, the creator and host of the AI Space podcast. I'm also the founder and CEO of Stonehouse Advisors. I hope you gained a wealth of game-changing, real-world insights to grow, transform, and scale to new levels and dimensions, leveraging AI. See you all next time.